Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 133 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by New Amsterdam Vodka. We're doing a little long-distance chat with the boys today. Let's go. Actually, both of those, all three, is actually Whitney, Biz, and Grinnell. You guys are all down in New York City. I'm meeting up with you tomorrow on Thursday. What's going on, Biz? You've been there all week.
It's been awesome. I love this city. That's pretty much all I got to say. Boys, I drank. I drank for the first time in 15 weeks. Had a few pints with Grinnell. We got chatting.
It was fun. We had a fun night.
Yeah, we had a great time. And just talking about how we can make this podcast better. Every fucking day we don't sleep. We just make this fucking podcast better. So that's all I got to say about that. And then Whit Dog got in today. Wasn't happy about his shoebox hotel room, though.
No, I mean, listen, I'm in an absolute phone booth. I have to like get skinnier to get between the bed and the wall to the bathroom. And I don't like getting out of the left side of the bed. I'm a right side guy. Dude,
that is ridiculous.
Biz, to come in here and hear, like people are like, why don't you come to the offices in New York City more? But because every time I come here, I'm on a bender. It's 2 a.m. and me and Grinnelli are crushed, like, talking about the podcast. I'm like, I can't come there that often. So I come in this time, a couple days before Christmas, just trying to relax. And I hear that Biz is on the booze again. So this is 2 nights. The next 2 nights will be very interesting. Very interesting.
Buddy Grinnelli, you going to say hello there, brother?
Yeah.
Well, fuck, all right. You didn't make that awkward or anything.
Yeah, geez. Boys, I'm excited for the Christmas party tomorrow. I think that's going to be fun.
Oh, jeez.
Me and Biz have had a blast the past couple nights. He went on Instagram Live at my house. I don't know if you saw, and showed everyone my mouse traps.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He deletes his Instagram Lives.
I know. It's a special treat.
Drives me crazy.
I know.
You got to be there, though. It's like a one-time thing, you know?
I went on the Call Her Daddy podcast today. I don't know when that's going to air. They were asking me some pretty aggressive questions. I told the House of No Return, but the Coles Notes version.
They opened up the podcast, and the first question, can we see your dick? And throughout the whole podcast, we're like, no, seriously.
You didn't show them your
Can we
horn?
see your dick?
Dude, I don't have a...
You're not going to, like, show up to a podcast and just whip your wrench
can't.
out. Like,
God.
especially if you don't get a chance to fire her up a little bit.
Well, I told him,
That's
it was
what
like
we
kind of like when I talked to Lupul about the ESPN body issue that he did when you're on all set all day. You know, you don't know if it's going to be cold and shit. You don't know who's going to be there. Like I would have, if I would have known, I would have popped a Cialis, at least got a little blood flow in there before I'm whipping it out. Like, I'll be the first guy to admit when mine's like completely soft, like it's not aesthetically pleasing. It's not very large. It's like kind of gross looking.
Well, and there's all that extra
Looks like
skin hanging off.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's the issue.
Got the old beef jerky on the end there, little double bubble. All right, so you get in tomorrow. What's going on in the hockey world, though?
Yeah, getting in tomorrow morning. Speaking of hot stuff, fucking Edmonton Oilers, man. Hitchcock, 8-2-1 under the big hitch. There, a lot of people talk on the wagon. I don't know how many wagons we got in the NHL there, but right now it looks like the Oilers are the latest one.
Yeah, too many wagons. We got to tone down the wagon talk. Obviously, Arizona, we have them. Jets are a wagon.
Arizona.
We'll get back to that. But how about Grinnelli saying, "Oh, what a terrible hire for Hitchcock." He had to go on Twitter and backtrack and be like, I fucked up. My bad."
It's been a lot of backtracking for Grinnelli lately.
I don't make many bad predictions. That was one of them.
I feel like he's kind of a curse.
Well, fuck, he put out that wagon T-shirt. At least the Sabres one. Quickly about the Oilers, though. Hitch does this for a living. He comes in and fixes wounded.
The repairman.
He comes in and just fixes things up, throws the old lines in the blender, gets guys buzzing. He's playing McDavid like 26 minutes a night. Why wouldn't you? And when he's going that good, and right now Draisaitl is playing good. Shout out to the filthiest backhand sauce pass I ever seen this season. Draisaitl through the neutral zone to McDavid against Colorado on Tuesday night. What's today, Wednesday? By the way, also shout out to my boy Jay Driscoll. I've mentioned him before. All over the over in Colorado, Edmonton. And right before the game, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to miss it. 10 goals. Thanks for that. Also, RA, your gambling corner we'll get into. Good job. But the Oilers are fucking buzzing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, I'm a big goalie guy, Mikko Koskinen, man. The guy, I'm not sure he came out of nowhere, but I think he's been as much of a factor as Hitchcock has been. He's been lights out in between the pipes, and that had been an issue for them. Cam Talbot wasn't giving them the goaltending they needed. Koskinen's come in, he's given them that. And again, I mentioned it before, but in combination with Hitchcock, man, they're like a new team. It'll be determined whether it'll last for the whole season, but right now they're flying high. Like I said, 8-2-1 under Hitch. Pretty impressive thus far.
Yeah, I think he was the perfect candidate for that job. And he's from Edmonton, correct?
Yeah, that's what I think. It had always been, when's Hitch going to coach here? I mean, it was a matter of time, I feel like.
Yeah, and I kind of get the feeling he's kind of toned it down a little bit. I mean, we always say that, and maybe he's rejuvenated himself to fit more to the younger guys. But we know the longer he is in places, he likes to get on guys. Like, come on, Connor. Like, it won't be saying Connor's name because he's playing 26 minutes.
I think he'll say anyone's name.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, he thought he was going to be retired and done, and he was done coaching, and then he figured he was going to come back. He's like, I guess I should start listening to this Chiclets thing. Is this what the younger crowd in hockey? This is how much guys go out and stuff? What the hell's going on?
Yeah,
I thought this was a new league.
Yeah, asking guys how big their wrenches are in team meetings to draw up plays. But yeah, no, he's done an unbelievable job, and I don't know. Do you guys think that they can sustain this with playing Connor McDavid 25, 26 minutes as a fucking forward? That is insane.
Yeah, that's like 34 minutes for a D-man. I would kind of compare the two. I don't think over time it would be it would be smart because that's how they get in the playoffs. Right now, he probably could. I mean, the kid's a freak. He's the best skater in the league. The game comes so easy to him. But I mean, if at some point you want to try to become a more well-rounded team, you can't have a forward playing 26 minutes a night. Maybe you get into the playoffs and you try to run with that, but over time that won't be a successful kind of recipe to get, make a team compete for Stanley Cups.
Yeah. And RA, you got some other news that you sent us about the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, Andrew Ference, he was on the 31 Thoughts podcast that's hosted by friends of our show. Elliot Friedman and Jeff Marek, great show up they have up in Canada. Caused quite a few ripples in Edmonton. Andrew Ference, he really ripped on the Edmonton Oilers squads that he was there. Witz, I think you guys didn't really overlap. Or did you overlap at all? Witz?
I believe Witt was on the team when
No,
he was
I wasn't.
there. Oh, you weren't?
I was never on the team with him. He never would have made those comments if I was there. Partying must have started when I left.
Well, the reason I say that is because a lot of people were tagging you in the comments he made because somebody wrote a few articles about it, and your name, Ryan, you were getting tagged on it. I'll say this. Or actually, all right, why don't you get into the article and then I'll comment afterward.
Yeah, it was actually the quotes. I listened to it last night. He said basically the kids didn't respect what he was about. He was trying to kind of bring the winning formula, winning attitude from Boston, as he was the captain in Edmonton. And he said they really weren't absorbing it. He said that it was, in his quote, was, quote, too cool to try hard. He said that players had derogatory terms for players who tried too hard in practice. He said that was the culture there.
Yeah, they're called tryhards.
Yeah, they're called Rudies.
Yeah. It was
Easy, Rudy.
Whitney set up this whole culture in Edmonton.
I didn't set up this culture. Fuck off, Cornelli. I was fucking. This isn't my fault. Hey, go ahead. All right, are you done, or do you have more to say?
No, it was. Yeah, he said a lot of shit. He said the lifestyle to a lot of these guys was more important than the game. He said, and he quote, "It really pissed me off because it's a waste of their years as an NHL player." He was pissed at them. He said another quote. It was ridiculous. He basically that. These kids were all about partying. He didn't mention any names, but you were there, right before. So, what's your take? Was there too much partying going on? Was it average for the NHL? What do you agree with his sentiments or what?
It was no more than any other NHL team going on the road a little bit. Also, you're in dead last place. I mean, I don't know. Like for me, for him to come out and say that, I think's bullshit. So you're. I'm assuming he's going on the fact that like this was his last few years in the NHL, and I don't know if he's upset that he considers his years being ruined by guys partying. I mean, I'm looking at his stats: 71 games played, 18 points. That's a solid year. He's not overly offensive defenseman. The next year, 14 points, and then that was kind of it. I mean, he wasn't dominating by any means, and for him to kind of come out and just. I mean, he's not naming names, but he pretty much is. I mean, you look at the roster and you think about guys that were there then and apparently were partying to him. It's just not a good look, I don't think. I mean, what are you getting out of ripping guys and saying they were partying when you were playing there? Like, what did it cost him?
Well, I'll say this: Andrew Ference is a very healthy individual. He's
good for him.
He eats all organic. He's all about like supplementation, and he was a true professional. He woke up every day, he breathed hockey, he was concentrated, and he was the ultimate professional. Some guys can go and booze and have a good time. And I will use the first Stanley Cup that Los Angeles won. I believe it was in 2012.
I don't know.
Grinnell,
right around
need your help.
Yeah, 2012.
Was it?
Yes.
So they got the 8th seed that year. They ended up knocking off Vancouver in the first round. That team liked to have a good time. They went on a 2-day heater after they won that first round in Hollywood, because they had to wait so long, because I believe they beat Vancouver in 5 games. So they had to wait for the next series. Then they ended up winning their next series. And then apparently they went on another 2-3-day bender. Then they ended up beating us in the conference finals in 5 games, went on another bender, and then won the Stanley Cup. So don't correlate the partying with not having a winning culture, because I know guys on certain teams who have... Man, when we went to the conference finals that same year, we had about 7 or 8 guys on the team that were going out regularly. Even for my first 3 years in Arizona, we had a very young team, or at least half the team was, that would like to go out. I go out with Lori Korpikoski, Dan Winnick was one of the guys who went out. We had Sammy Lepisto, myself, Taylor Pyatt, because he was single at the time, and then he'd met his girl halfway through my first year. And Scotty Upshaw was there. We had a fucking blast, and we would go to the rink and tell all the older guys about what we did, and they lived vicariously. We were probably partying just as much as those guys at Edmonton were. It was just the fact that they had a shit team.
The guys in Edmonton weren't partying. It was nothing. I mean, it was nothing that any other team doesn't do. And like, if you're gonna come out and say that this culture was just that toxic, I mean, he's not just saying they partied too much. He's saying practice sucked. Name some names, dude. I mean, you're going after the entire team. Like, why don't you come out? Like, if this is bad enough, where if you're on that team, like maybe you didn't act like that, you're probably like, what the fuck, dude? If you're gonna come out and sewer an entire team, why don't you maybe name who you think? I mean, obviously this guy doesn't care. So why?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't give a shit.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's his right. And if that's how he feels about it, I'm totally cool with that, because ultimately he was being a true professional.
Yeah, he was. Nothing against that.
But don't tell me that's why they were losing. They were losing because they drafted poorly. They lost because they fucking developed poorly. They had people in certain situations in the organization who shouldn't be in those situations. Like, is it not common knowledge that Edmonton was a fucking boys club? And you know what? They have done so much for that city in winning all those cups. Fucking give them those jobs. But to blame it on the fact that they were like going out and having fun on the road. Hey, man, I've been on winning teams that have done it. I have been on losing teams that have done it. And then a prime example was that first fucking Stanley Cup that they won in L.A. I heard stories about that run, and it was magical.
Yeah, I think that you said it best in that, all right, Patrice Bergeron and Zdeno Chara practiced one way. A bunch of teams won Stanley Cups practicing a completely different way. And for you to go out and just like say that they weren't like the Bruins, I mean, dude, no shit. Did you see the rosters?
The 84 Oilers weren't the 84 Oilers because they just won a bunch of games. They were because they went out and fucking got it done off the ice and got it done on the ice.
Yeah, like the 1997 BU hockey team wasn't the Holy Cross hockey team. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's totally different rosters.
And this isn't throwing anyone under the bus. The Calgary Flames, they have a very fun team this year.
Real deal.
And they like to go have a little bit of fun. And how the fuck are they doing?
It's just kind of a hardo. It's kind of a hardo comment for me. It really is. That's what we can end it at that.
And keep in mind, like, we're a type of podcast where our following is more down with the, hey, let's have fun in life and do those things. Maybe the people that don't would be like, oh, he's absolutely right. I love the fact that he came out and said it and called them out. It's just like, hey, I'm down with what Ference is saying, and I can say, yeah, you were a true professional, and you lived and breathed it like that, so you can bitch about the guys who are doing the other stuff. Just a tough look when you're blaming the losing culture on that. There's a lot of fucking other things that contributed to it, and a lot of people are fucking mentioning Hall's name. Wow, he went on to fucking win a Hart.
Yeah, he's the MVP.
He ain't hurting your squad. I can look at his hockey DB
He's not
right
the
now.
issue.
No. So anyway, all right, we kind of rambled on you. How do you feel about it?
I think you guys might want to listen to the whole thing. It wasn't like he just came out and bashed them. He was getting questions. I think there was a little bit of context there. But yeah, he was basically saying it was a kind of a culture shock for him. He came from a winning atmosphere in Boston that was a little more professional to basically, I'm paraphrasing, kind of babysitting the clubhouse who really wasn't interested in what he was what he was preaching, basically, because he said, I'm not a star, I'm a 4 or 5 defenseman. I don't think they were basically appreciating what he brought to the thing. One quick note, too, we are going to have on Riley Cote and Jeff Courtnall, a couple of retired guys we're going to bring on a little bit later. Wanted to mention that. Go ahead,
Hey, great fucking plug there, RA. And another point I wanted to bring up, too, is I had friends that played on that team with Dallas Eakins, who is another guy who's very into fitness, very into nutrition, and he was also trying to change the culture there, but he was very bossy about it. Like, apparently media members weren't even allowed to have donuts in the thing anymore, like in the press box or whatever. I know guys that played there during his coaching tenure where these guys, if they played a certain amount of minutes during the game, let's say 12 minutes, after the game they'd have to do like a 20-mile bike ride. And they had to do bike tests like 4 different times during the season. And it got a little bit controlling and crazy because he went like overboard with it. So there was a lot of shit that some of the players weren't down with where they're like, man, I want to fucking go out there and skate and work on my game. I'm not a fucking cyclist. Why do I have bike rides every day? And another fucking thing is if you talk to Matt Nickel and some of these other high-end hockey trainers, they don't want you on the bike, especially during the season, because all it does is tightens up your hip flexors. And
we don't need those tight biz, huh? When you're in New York? You don't want to tighten up your hip
I don't
flexors.
want those fucking tight hip flexors. I'm going to have to put them to work.
Well, it's also...
But we're talking about a guy now controlling the fitness aspect and how guys' bodies are reacting to certain things off the ice. Guys are at that professional level for a reason. They know exactly what they need to do to go out to peak performance. If you're telling them, 20-minute bike ride or 30-minute bike ride after playing 12 minutes in a game, and as I just mentioned, that there's consequences to that because it's been studied, and that's why Matt Nickel and Andy O'Brien and some of the other high-end NHL trainers are high NHL trainers because they know this type of information. Matt Nickel I don't want to say the main reason he got canned from the Maple Leafs when he did was because Berkey brought in his own guy because he was all about the bike. And Matt Nickel was like, hey, I'm not down with that. And they butted heads, and then he ended up getting pigeon-tossed. Matt Nickel's the fucking man. He's the man.
It's a Matt Nickel. Two things.
And him and Gary Roberts as well. Like, that's where Connor McDavid's training. That's where Tyler Seguin's training. These guys know what the fuck they're doing.
2 things. Dallas Eakins, the worst thing you could ever do is take away media members like donuts and stuff. That was a terrible first move for a head coach. I mean, you want the meat on your side, you're taking away their donuts. Second,
RA dropped the fucking Homer Simpson donuts.
We knew it was coming. Second thing about Ference quickly. It's almost like religion in a way. I don't care if people are really religious. I don't care at all. Just don't preach it on me. Don't constantly. And it's the same thing with how you prepare. He prepared a certain way, but don't preach it on other guys. So end of story. The Oilers lost because they stunk, not because they ripped it up occasionally on the road.
And
all right.
Once again, to clarify, I have no problem with him saying what he did. Obviously, there's...
Or Matt Nickel.
What do you mean?
You have no problem with Matt Nickel.
No, of course, I love Matty Nickel. He's the man.
He's the man.
He's the fucking man. But, it's a fair statement, but I'm saying is like there's a way broader conversation to be had about that losing culture. Not just fucking them going out and having a few fun ones on the road.
Yeah, it was a good interview. And also, if you're a Bruins fan, he talked about the 2011 season, so it's worth checking out for that as well.
Oh, yeah, you were stroking yourself off that.
Yeah.
And 31 Thoughts has an awesome podcast. Shout out to Merrick and Elliot Friedman. Just stroke them off a quick second.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Two great guys up north.
Speaking of teams in disarray, Blues had a little practice skirmish the other day. I feel like these were a little more common back in the day, but Robert Bortuzzo and Zach Sanford made the rounds on social media. It was a couple of quick punches, and ironically, Steve Ott played the linesman. He came in and broke it up, which is absolutely fucking hysterical. Biz, you must have had a couple of these in your day, no?
When I played for the Saginaw Spirit, I believe after 10 games in my first season there, we were 500. I think we might have won 3 more games the rest of the season after that. I think I had 3 or 4 practice fights that year. I felt that there was a lot of pressure back then to win. And there always is. And when things aren't going well, you could say I was a bit of a tryhard in practice back then too, because I knew there was bigger things down the road for me. Some of these other guys might have been like, hey, this is my NHL playing junior hockey. Like, that is completely healthy And I bet you Bortuzzo and Sanford had a laugh afterward, because I know the guys that I fought in practice. I fought Stephen Dix. He's from North Bay. He was on my team in Saginaw. He broke my nose. I fought Jesse Jenish that year. I fought Chris Thorburn, our captain.
Thorby.
I fought Thorby. I fucking loved him. Afterward, I went up to him and we had a conversation like grown men. Things get heated. We're competing every day at practice. Things have not been going well in games for the St. Louis Blues. Yeah, and the frustration mounted. That's 100% healthy. I hope they go on a 10-game win streak now. And for people thinking that there is anything wrong with that, there isn't.
I agree. I mean, the only thing I'll say is, like, I don't think Sanford really had his gloves off and he kind of hit him with that last uppercut. And I'm sure Bortuzzo felt a little bad about that, only because at the end, you're like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, we're losing, wires crossed. And I think everyone understands. But then he looks, he's like, oh, dude, I didn't mean to buckle you. Because he was kind of like buckled a little bit. But you're right. Dude, me and Army fought in practice once.
Oh, he talked about it.
Did he?
Let's hear the story.
I don't really remember the story. That's what sucks about Mushbrain. I don't really remember. I remember fighting him. I didn't know he talked about it, but I don't remember like how it started. I remember fighting a kid in college, Greg Johnson. We had cages on. We're throwing punches with cages on. Like, stay hot. I got a scar right beneath my lip for that one. Looks phenomenal, though, in the certain lighting that I can get in.
So I think that means we need to send out the Army bat signal, and we have to have him on a podcast soon.
Yes,
he gets
we will.
a little weird about it now.
He does, yeah, I think he gets scared. We're going to make him talk about stuff he won't want to talk to. But speaking of quickly about the Blues,
about sex parties in Wilkes-Barre.
About the Blues, you saying that you're hoping they go on a win streak, dude. They had a fucking 4-goal third period comeback for a win last night in their first tilt since the thing. Actually, Keith told me that you said you tried fighting him in practice. He's like, dude, I'm going to cross-check you in the face if you come near me.
In my first month with the Coyotes, RA, like I compete like a bastard.
Yeah, your wires cross.
I'm a fucking nut job. Like, I used to get the Rudy comment and a lot in junior, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna fucking be in the show, and you're gonna be washing my fucking car through the drive-through. Of course, I'm fucking going hard in practice. Wait till you see me in the gym afterward too. I'll be riding the bike like Dallas Eakins.
But Matt Nichols said it's not good to ride the bike.
I know. I didn't know it.
He's the man.
I didn't know it back then. I was throwing 4 plates aside on the squat rack. Keep the change. Christ, I forgot where we were.
You were talking
about
the Blues. Yeah, and I didn't even know that they came back, but that's completely healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you got to think they're probably a little frustrated. They did get the win Tuesday night. They might, rattle off a few more, but they were among one of the busier teams last season. They haven't gotten anything close to the desired results, and they're tied for the second fewest points in the NHL. Only Chicago and LA have fewer. They made some big splashes last year. Conversely, Buffalo, one of the teams they made some trades with, has kind of had the opposite effect. So, yeah, guys getting a little frustration out, and it happens. I think with social media now, there's just more talking about it.
All right, before we send it off to this interview, you kind of went glazed over it. I mean, when's the Blackhawks Chiclets bunk going to kick in?
Boys.
Yeah.
Boys.
Yeah, we could.
Did you see the clip? Did you see the clip of Colleton like in Taves' like ear? He's like right. You could smell his breath for sure. He's just like, dude, please get away from me right now.
Yeah.
You could just tell the body. It's. Chicago might not get that Chiclets bump this year, boys.
No.
Yeah,
they might.
We'll
not.
tie them in. We'll tie the Blackhawks in with the gambling corner in a little bit. But first, we're gonna send it to Jeff Courtnall right now.
This interview is brought to you by Eagle Energy, the all-natural caffeine inhaler. I have an announcement on their behalf. I know orders have been slow to go out. They had a crazy amount of orders on Black Friday, and then especially considering it was 40% off, and I believe that was on already like 20% off on the website.
60?
There was like 60% off. It was crazy, Whit, I know. And then, so they had so many orders, so they're trying to send them out. I know some of you are frustrated, but please bear with them. They're a startup. They were getting their shit together. And also, they had the 21 Savage collaboration, so those have been flying off the shelves as well. Those are the ones I want to talk about today. You get 21% off with a Biz 21. Get it? 21 Savage. Haha, collaboration. Spittin' rhymes. So they're doing that. These things are unbelievable. They taste awesome. I bought a bunch for the people in the Barstool offices. Fucking PFT's begging me for them. Although Big Cat insults me for fucking plugging them because he's a fucking asshole. But enough about Big Cat. Eagle Energy on Instagram, on Twitter, eagleenergy.com. Go check them out. Biz 20 for the non-21 Savage ones for 20% off. eagleenergy.com. Check it out. Eagle.energy.com. That's my bad. Fuck.
Holy fuck, what an ad read.
A first-time guest. He is from Victoria, British Columbia. This player was undrafted and ended up going on to have a very, very long NHL career, played over 1,000 games. Even more importantly, played 156 playoff games. So this guy was a winner. I want to welcome to the podcast, Jeff Courtnall.
Thank you. Nice to be on the show.
That's not a bad little introduction right there. I mean, over 1,000 games. Holy shit. You got to say, we like to say not a big deal once in a while on this podcast.
Yeah, no, I was pretty blessed to have a great career. So had a lot of fun and enjoyed the competition while it lasted for sure.
I'm just shocked to see that. How are you not drafted? I mean, even the year before your last year in the WHL, you had 72 games with 92 points. And when you were playing in the fucking Western League, that was a man's league.
Yeah, it's very interesting. My last year, 19-year-old, I had a great year, and the head scout for LA came and met with me in the summer, and he said, "Okay, listen, you only had about 6 penalty minutes. You gotta start to play tough. Guys think that you're scared." So and at that time I was only 160 pounds, so I gained 20 pounds that summer, lifted weights, took boxing, basically went back and Russ played with me that year, so I ended up basically saving his life almost every game and fought a lot. And at Christmas, I could have signed with any team in the NHL, so I ended up signing with Boston. So that's how it kind of went.
And for those listening, wonder, he mentioned his brother Russ, who is 3 years younger. He had a pretty decent career too. I mean, if you're into getting drafted 7th overall and playing, of course, over 1,000 NHL games, and he had quite a few playoff games as well. But we're not here to talk about Russ. We're here to talk about Jeff.
Hey,
go ahead, Whit.
No, I was going to say, so, you're 3 years older than your younger brother, who I'm guessing was a little bit of a phenom growing up. He ends up going 7th overall. So when you're playing together that year, I mean, are you kind of stacking up against him, even though he's 3 years younger, because of how high he's been drafted? Or had that not even happened for him yet? And was it ever hard to see, when you're younger, your younger brother have all this success and not actually sure what you were going to do, having not been drafted?
Well, I was used to it because he was pretty much the best player in BC his whole life growing up. He always had a lot of points, and the year we played junior together was great. We played on the same line, and obviously growing up together, we knew exactly what each other were going to do, and that's why we had such a successful career as far as that year. Then he was drafted in the first round, and then was the captain of the World Junior team, and then played on the Olympic team and went right to the Leafs from there. So I think that next year, I think he only played I don't even know how many, 20 or 30 games junior. So I was never jealous of him. We competed against each other, growing up, which is probably what made us both so good.
Yeah. So we're going to fast forward quickly. You spend a little bit of time in the AHL, your first year pro. You also get 5 games up. Same thing the next year. You play most of the season in the NHL, 64 games, only 9 games in Hershey. What I'm curious about is the next year, you only you played 64 games again, but you actually started in the AHL again. Is that what I'm seeing? Or I don't understand how after 2 years and a couple big NHL seasons, you were back in the AHL the third year.
Yeah, well, it's you're only going to be. It was probably I can't remember who they hired as the new coach that year, but yeah, at the beginning they sent me to I think Moncton, where we shared a team with Calgary, and Terry Crisp was the coach there, and I think it basically came down to a lot of teams were trying to trade for me with Boston, and they just called me back up. They had 2 first-round picks that were left wingers. And so they were trying to make those guys work. And then, I got called back up, and that was the last time I was down there.
Hey, Mike Milbury was your assistant coach when you were in Boston.
Yeah, I played with Mike. So, Yeah, I played in my first year. I broke in there. I mean, I played with Milbury, O'Reilly, Rick Middleton, John Rattel. I mean, it was that's quite an experience. Guy Lapointe was my centerman, which is funny. He was a defenseman in Montreal, and he was there. We were on the fourth line together, and that guy was the ultimate prankster. So that guy taught me a lot of the stuff I knew.
Which is we're gonna get to that, and I've had friends texting me all day about some of these pranks, and people are in for a treat. I'm more curious about Ray Bourque. We don't really talk about him, surprisingly, that we're mainly a Boston podcast because all these degenerates live there.
Yeah, well, Ray Bourque at that time was probably the best player in the league. He, I had the pleasure of playing with him for basically 4 years, and he would log like 30-40 minutes a game, and the guy was like a horse. Like, he was just a machine. The guy, he was such a great player, great teammate. So I have nothing but great things to say about Ray.
So is this at the point when you come in, and I'm looking at that roster of your rookie year, or not the year you played 5 games, the year after that. So I see Rick Middleton, who actually is getting his jersey retired by the Bruins this year in November. Do you think of him as just was he a wily old veteran? Was he grumpy? Was he a great guy? Because obviously his career was an incredible one.
Yeah, no, Rick was just an amazing guy. I played on the line with him and Barry Peterson, and he was probably one of the most. Yeah, he was one of the most skilled, talented guys I ever played with. Like, the stuff he could do in tight and the ability he had with the puck was just amazing. But he basically, he got hit in the head with a puck in practice, and he didn't wear a helmet then. Nevin Marquardt hit him with a slap shot in the head, and that really didn't help the end of his career.
Oh, geez. So I wanted to get to the pranking stuff. Did this start when you were in Boston? I mean, you're a young guy coming in the league. You don't want to be fucking with the vets, because all of a sudden you're in hot water. You might be finding yourself more down the American League. When did all this begin?
Well, those guys tortured me my early years in Boston. I was basically, my first flight from Boston to LA, you can picture this. I took my shoes off and slept most of the flight. And when we got to LA, I couldn't find my shoes anywhere. And everyone got off the plane. I looked in every overhead, couldn't find them. Walked through the LA airport in my socks, got to the baggage claim, and my shoes were going around the baggage claim. So those guys thought that was funny, but that was just the beginning. They, would do everything from cut my tie if I fell asleep on the plane to nail my shoes to the bench, cut one leg off my jeans. Like, it was just nonstop. And Gord Kluzak and I believe it was he and I that got home. We were on a flight from Montreal, and he had a Jeep. And we got to the Jeep. It was about 20 below, and somebody had stole the doors off his Jeep. So we had to ride home all the way out to Danvers, and it had to be about 20 below. I think we both almost got pneumonia. But, of course, that was Guy Lapointe, who was, so those guys, that was back in the day when to stay loose before the game, they would just screw around with guys. I'm sure they don't do that now, but that was something that I learned and did it throughout my career.
And when did you start bringing it to the next level? Because and then it started heating up, and some of these stories I've heard, I'm like, damn, man, that must have took some time.
Yeah, so Marc Bergevin and I was doing lots of stuff in Vancouver too, but Marc Bergevin, he is one of the best. And so when we played together in Montreal, or not Montreal, what am I saying? St. Louis, he and I, basically he tortured me, then I started torturing him. And then I think we said, okay, let's just get everybody else. And so one of the best pranks ever is, Marc Bergevin, Jamie Rivers got traded. He was playing with McInnes. They were showing him, and that was Bergevin's partner. And he was pissed off that Rivers was playing with McInnes, and they traded Rivers to the Islanders. So I called Bergie and said, hey, have the media got a hold of you? And he said, no, why, what? And I said, oh, well, one of the media guys just called me and said that they traded Rivers to the Islanders because of you, and you were jealous of him and making it tough for him to play here. And he was going nuts on the phone. Well, I had already phoned McInnes and told him what I was going to do. So Bergie called McInnes right away after I hung up with him and he said, yeah, same thing. They called him. And so it went from there. Then I got the newspaper writer to interview Bergie the next day, basically telling him that whole story. So then I had the coaches go up to Bergie at practice on the ice and tell him, hey, you got to meet with Larry when he gets back, who's the general manager, about Rivers and all this stuff. So Bergie comes off the ice in the shower. He's yelling at me going, he's getting it when we play the Islanders. He's going to get it, on and on. So then about 4 days later, Larry Plow comes back from his road trip, and there was about 4 of us hiding in the closet in Larry's office, and he calls Bergie in there, and Bergie's yelling at him going, Larry, I never said anything. You can go ask the coaches. And they're screaming back and forth, and Larry's going to him, well, Mark, I don't know how we're going to fix this. And then we came out of the closet. Well, Bergie chased me around the St. Louis arena for like about 15 minutes, yelling at me that he was going to kill me. So that was just one of the ones that we did that take time. So there's
how are you convincing the coaches and GMs to get involved?
Well, Joel Quenneville was probably the greatest coach ever because he was a player and he loved that stuff. So he got involved and he actually sold it to Bergie like so well before practice. Bergie probably couldn't sleep for about 3 days.
Oh, my God. Hey, Bergevin, because the guys, when I played in Pittsburgh, they talked about him. They got him for 1 year. They said it was every day, though. He was nonstop getting guys. And so it just never ended.
Okay, so Bergie's still so bad. Last year when they were here in town, we went out for dinner the night before the game, and we were at Joe Forte's. And so anyways, I get up, and I put my coat on. I get outside, and I'm reaching for my keys, and I go, oh, Jesus, well, there's a cup saucer, there's cutlery, everything in my coat. And the manager, he's friends with us. He's following us out on the street, and I start handing him all the stuff out of my coat. And Bergie's like on the ground laughing. And I said, Bergie, feel your pockets, because I filled his pockets with too.
Oh yeah, that's unbelievable.
So there wasn't a day. So I can tell you, like Bergie, this is Bergie's classic. So guys would, he'd bring donuts in the morning, right? And he'd dip them in the wax that we would put our hands in, and then he'd put them all back in the box and put them out.
The paraffin wax wet.
Yeah. So guys would bite into these donuts, and it was like basically their teeth would be stuck in the wax. And he would put holes in all the coffee cups, so you'd be sitting there drinking your coffee, and coffee would be leaking all over your shirt.
So yeah, Bergie,
you could write a book on the stuff Bergie did for sure.
Oh my God, yeah.
But he was busy in Pittsburgh. I heard he was busy in Pittsburgh carrying Mario's bag everywhere.
Yeah, no, he was acting as a trainer / a seventh defenseman. That was the contract.
He was the real jester biz. That was a jester role.
It was hilarious because I used to text him and go, Bergie, I hope you're. I'll tell you another one I got Bergie on that was classic too. After I retired, but I used to text Bergie all the time and ask him if he cut Mario's lawn today and if he got the garbage cans out. But I entertained myself with that. But so another one is I moved back to Victoria in 2001. So I registered Bergie's domain name. And so it was classic. So we got the police, the St. Louis guys who would always come into the room before the season started, and I got them to go in there. And what they did is they got all the guys in the room and they started going, hey, have you guys, listen, there's a problem. Have you guys all registered your domain names? And so, a bunch of the guys are all going, yeah, we did. And McInnes goes, yeah, I registered mine. And they're going, okay, well, we should check out your guys' names up. So they brought the screen down that they showed all the highlights on, and they typed in a bunch of guys' names and nothing came up. So I had registered Bergie's name and I put a porn site on it. So the guy goes to Bergie, did you register your name? And he goes, no. He goes, well, you should. Let's check your name. So he checked it. and up comes the White House porn site. Well, Bergie almost jumped out. Like Al said, it's the funniest thing he's ever seen. Bergie's like sprinting around the room going, what, shoot, do that again, do it again. So they enter it again. The porn site comes up. Bergie calls me. He goes, listen, I got the FBI. He goes, they know that you've got my name registered. You got to turn that site off. So for about a week.
Holy shit, he got the FBI involved?
Yeah, that's what he said. He's full of shit.
Hey, I need to ask you, because you're talking about that St. Louis room. That sounds fun. But you had a little time, 12 games, I believe, in the regular season with the 87-88 Edmonton Oilers, which Wayne Gretzky had 149 points in 64 games. Mark Messier, Jari Kurri, Glenn Anderson. What was that like? Were you even talking in that room, and was it a loud room or just pretty chill?
Yeah, it was a pretty serious room, but there was some guys that Marty McSorley, Kevin McClellan, they kept that room pretty loose. Marty was always joking around, but when, half an hour before game time, they would play, play ping pong in there, and they were pretty loose but pretty serious. There wasn't, I definitely didn't do any pranking in that room, but that team was so good. I thought I was in great shape till I got there on the ice, and the practices were so fast. It was unbelievable how fast those guys practiced. And I think that's why they won so many games. And, I was fortunate enough to play with Gretzky when I first got there, and Curry. And my first game, I got a hat trick, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is pretty good. But that was great. Won the Stanley Cup, beat Boston, who traded me in the finals. We beat them 4 games straight. The 4th game, they turned the power off, so we had to beat them the 5th game straight in Edmonton.
That's interesting that you say that locker room was so serious. I'm sure there's a few reasons. Well, at that point, they were kind of not pressured to win the Cup, but they had such a good team that they had to follow it up. Do you think it gotten to that point where all of a sudden there was more pressure to win because of the team?
Yeah, I think so. And also, I think they were probably thinking that maybe they weren't going to be together forever, and they wanted to win again. But Mark and Wayne were unbelievable leaders together. I think that was a pretty good 1-2 combo. And, it was Grant Fuhr was unbelievable back then. I played junior with Grant, so I knew how good he was. But, yeah, to play with that group was pretty amazing.
And an interesting thing, you said how practice, how it was so hard, and
they shoulder pads?
They had a bit of a reputation as far as how much fun they like to have too. So was it kind of like a work hard, play hard situation, or had things calmed down at that point?
No, it was work hard, play hard, but they were. There was definitely no partying before games. There wasn't a lot of partying. After we'd win a series, they'd party, one night and then pretty serious back to work. And I think that's why nobody beat us. I think we only lost 2 games that whole playoff. But those guys were, when you came down into that dressing room and that rink for practice, it was pretty intense. That's for sure. Practices, that's where I learned a lot for me. I coached a couple of years in the BC Junior, and I think that I learned so much from so many great coaches, but practicing there was just all flow, and the flow was like high speed.
All right, so it's pretty incredible. Congrats on the Stanley Cup, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't even know you won a cup.
Yeah, pretty lucky.
Hey, kind of funny how that comes around, eh? You're cutting Wayne's grass, and all of a sudden you're joking around with Bergevin about cutting fucking Mario's.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'm curious. 90-91, you get traded over to Vancouver, and you go and have a great run there. And I have a bunch of questions about the 94 finals. But right away, did you see that Vancouver team was set up to compete? Because they made the playoffs every year you were there. Obviously, you made at least the second round most of those years. So was that a shock when you got traded, or were you more excited to go back home?
I was not really shocked, because I knew St. Louis were trying to get I thought we were first overall, so they were trying to get a defenseman, and know I had heard that they were talking to a bunch of different teams. I didn't know who, but I was shocked that they had made the trade they did. 4 guys off the team for one, and well, Quinn was sort of included, but Butcher was the guy they traded us all for. And so when we got to Vancouver, I think it was just so many different pieces to what they had there that we brought so much that the team, I think when we got there, the team was definitely out of the playoffs and they were down, and we just went on quite a run and just got into the playoffs in the last game. And then from there, the team just got better and better. And then we got Bure, which was unbelievable. And I think that that was pretty fun and exciting to play with him.
Oh, I was asked to ask you about some Gino Ojek and Pavel Bure stories.
Yeah, Gino's I got tons of Gino stories, but Gino is he's probably the best teammate I ever played with that knew his role and really knew how to protect star players. And I think that obviously in the old days, before every game or at opening face-off or whatever, guys would tell us they were going to kill us and do this and do that to try to slow you down. And Gino knew how to go and basically tell their other players, hey, listen, if they touch Bure or whoever, I'm going to come after you all night. And so we were given lots of room playing with Gino. And, he was a lot of fun. I mean, I'm sure we had lots of interesting stories of jokes that were played with Gino where I'm sure he wanted to kill me a few times, but he didn't. But Pablo and I took him for sushi. First time he'd ever been to sushi in San Francisco. And the first tray comes out and I go, Chief, try this green stuff. It's unbelievable. So he grabbed the whole ball and put it in his mouth. He ran into the back of the friggin' kitchen and he grabbed a jug of water. He came out, his face was like beet red, and he's yelling at me going, I'm going to kill you tomorrow at practice. I can't believe you told me to eat that stuff. So, yeah, Gino was, and I used to cut his sticks, the old wood sticks, they had the decal on them down at the bottom. I used to cut them about 3/4 of the way through, and then he'd go out and they'd snap off at practice, and then he'd chase me around. So
Dion Phaneuf did that to me.
Oh God!
I was one of the last guy to use wood sticks, and he did that to me when we went to the under-18 World Championships.
Yeah, that's not the good time to do it. But I did it to Gino. Yeah, so you know that one. So I did it to. We had a skills competition in Vancouver, so I cut both Gino's sticks of the decal. So he was in the hardest shot. So he skates up to the puck to take a slap shot, and the blade falls off. The puck didn't move. He came back, grabbed his other one, flexed it. Goes out there again. There's 10,000 people there. He skates up to it to take another shot. The blade falls off. He comes back to the bench and he goes, Glinner, give me your stick. Well, I'd cut his stick too. So he grabs his stick, flexes it, skates up to it, goes to take a shot. 3 tries. The puck never moved. He came back. He freaking chased me around the dressing room for like half an hour trying to kill me, and I was laughing so hard he couldn't catch me, but it was pretty funny.
3 in a row.
How did you know he was going to go to his the other guy's stick?
Well, Glinner was taking the shots too, so he was next, and so he grabbed his stick that I had cut. So it was pretty funny.
So what about Bure when he showed up? What did he have like a Russian mafia crew with him? He's just he's got some presence to him even off the ice. You can just tell he's someone even when he's not in his gear.
Yeah, when he showed up here, he hardly spoke a word of English. I got him his apartment. I set up his cable, his phone. I set up his bank account. I set up everything for him because he didn't hardly speak, but he learned really quick, and he was just an amazing teammate. Great guy. He used to get me he thought it was so great when I would goof around and play tricks on guys. He was always coming to me in the morning going, okay, yeah, you got to get this guy. You got to get that guy. And then he'd laugh his head off.
Would he be in the clear?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I didn't do anything to him because all I wanted him to do was score 60. That's all.
him and Gino were pretty tight, were they not? Like, did Gino basically go everywhere?
Yeah, they were roommates on the road. They were inseparable. Gino basically was with Pavel all the time, and they became great friends. But whenever a new Russian kid would come over, like we had 3 rookies who they didn't speak a word of English. So like he basically would always get me going on those guys. So we had lots of fun with those guys.
Oh, go ahead, Whit.
No, I was just going to ask. I was going to tell you the 94 series, I was 11, and that was when I really remember becoming completely obsessed with hockey. That series was so entertaining. Unfortunately, I hate to admit, I'm sorry, I was rooting for the Rangers, which is kind of pathetic, but I loved Brian Leetch. But I had to ask you about one thing. I remember this as clear as night, or unless it's clear as day. I don't know, Grinnell, I fixed that. Game six, you guys were up late in the game, and you scored a goal. They didn't know it went in, and then the Rangers went back down, scored, but it ended up going in. Can you take me through that? Because that pretty much put it away and forced the Game 7, right?
Yeah. So the score at the time, I think it was 3-1 for us. And I got a breakaway, scored, and I saw it hit the back bar, and it came right out and went the other way. It was a great picture in Sports Illustrated, actually. Messier set up, I think, Glenn Anderson, or he scored, one of the two. And then they blew the horn and reviewed it, and they saw that it had gone in when I scored, so it made it 4-1. And, that Game 6 was insane. I mean, the whole city of Vancouver were going absolutely crazy. I can remember driving downtown to eat after the game, and there was people everywhere waving the white flags and the Canucks jerseys and everything. And then when I got home that night, there was I lived out in White Rock, and there was 150 people in my driveway. It was insane. But anyway, Game 7, it's kind of an interesting series. Is that, you know what? It took us till Game 3 to realize that the team was Brian Leetch.
He was sick.
I told he was sick. He would basically set up everything. He was the power play. He scored. He set up all the goals. And it's funny because after Game 3, I said to the guys, listen, we have to start making it really hard on him. And then that was when we started really aggressively hitting him whenever we could and to try to wear him down. But I think, if we had one more period in Game 7, we definitely would have beat him, because Lafayette hit the post with 2 minutes left, and we were coming on strong. But it was a great series, and I would have been nice to win that one.
Another crazy playoff story we kind of passed over was when you knocked out the goalie in L.A.
Yeah, I'll give you the true story, which is the first time I've ever told it. But
breaking news, Grinnelli, put the horn in.
Yeah. So what happened was in St. Louis, we beat him in the first game. I think Facette was in goal. I can't remember who the starter was. But anyway, they put Storr in Game 2 in the third period, and he shut us out. And then in Game 3 in L.A., in the first and second periods, he shut us out again. So after the second period, you got to remember, like you said, where I came from in the early days, goalie was definitely in play. And guys I played with in Boston and Dale Hunter in Washington, our rule was in the playoffs, a goalie's never going to beat you. And so I said to Hully, shoot it close to him. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, just bounce it off the board so he's got to come out and play it, and I'll hit him. And he goes, no. He goes, are you serious? And I said, yeah. And he goes, really? I said, yep. So he got the puck at center, and he shot it just into the right corner. Goalie came out to block me, but I was going full speed, and I hit him. And he hit his head on the crossbar and was kind of down and out. And then their whole team basically dogpiled me, and we had a 5-on-3. We scored right away, made it 3-1, scored again to make it 3-2. Then I got 2 minutes. When I got out of the box, I set up Dimitri. He tied it up 3-3, and then we beat them. And I can remember that, my mom was there, and my brother was on the LA team, and my mom was giving me heck after the game going, I can't believe you did that. That's so bad. I was sitting with that guy's wife in the wives room before that happened. And then Russ was pissed off at me because obviously all the guys on his team were going, what the hell was that?
Oh my God!
Did anyone go after you later in the series?
No,
Wow.
that was it. I got beat up like friggin' broken ribs and you name it. I had everything. They beat the crap out of me there behind the net. But yeah, no, that was and the best was Bergie and I were standing in the hallway when I can't remember who it was, Rob Blake or one of the other guys walked by and said, "That's fucking brutal." And my brother walked by and said that too. And Bergie goes, "You can't teach that."
Oh, fuck.
So
He said it back where they could hear it?
Oh, yeah. He said it right back to them.
Oh, for fuck. Bergie's just one of a kind, man. What's the Corvette story? Who bought the new Corvette when you messed with them?
Oh, Jose Charbonneau in Vancouver, and we tortured that guy too. Yeah, and so we basically jacked his Corvette up on blocks. And then another time had it towed back to his house while practice was on.
But the funny thing was when you put it up on blocks, you only did it so it was like half an inch. So when he was trying to accelerate, his tires kept spinning and he couldn't figure out why his car wouldn't move.
Exactly. Put it in drive, nothing. Put it in reverse, nothing. We were all sitting in the parking lot watching, like laughing our asses off.
Okay, so you were pretty good with the car pranks. Tell me the one about the Suburban too. Somebody was bragging about their new Suburban. This one's fucking unbelievable.
Oh shit! Well, that guy wasn't a player. He was a friend, and he fucked with my truck at a golf tournament. And I said that is not a good idea. So he had a brand new Denali, whatever Yukon. I don't know what they were called back then. So I went to my buddy's tire store and I got a whole bunch of the weights and I put them on the inside of one of his tires. And so this truck's brand new. He's driving it home on the highway at 60 and he thought the steering wheel was going to come off. So he basically took it into the dealership and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with it because obviously it took a while for them to figure it out, but he thought he was going to have to get a new truck.
He didn't trade it in?
Oh, yeah, he traded it in.
So, wait, before he figured out what was wrong with it?
Yeah.
No,
he kept telling him, no, there's something wrong with it. It's like brand new. You got to give me a new one. And then the same guy, I just got that guy again a couple of years ago, which was pretty good.
Well, let's hear it.
God.
We went duck hunting to this duck club, and after we were all duck hunting, his cowboy boots were sitting in his room. Like in St. Louis, they have these huge duck clubs. So there was a dead mouse laying there. So I put it in his cowboy boot. Well, he just finished building a brand new house and I guess he didn't put his boots on and I didn't know. And so he told his brother that he did something to me again at the duck club. I can't remember. And he told his brother, he goes, "Oh, I got Courtnall again." And he goes, "Oh yeah, what?" And so my buddy said to him, "Oh yeah, what's going on?" And he told him, and I can't remember what he did, but nothing major. So about 2 days later, he comes into his office. And he goes, "Oh my God!" He goes, my house must be infested with mice. I put my cowboy boots on, and there's something in the end of my cowboy boot. I took my boot off, and I had blood all over my foot. So I was walking around on the carpet. I got to get new carpet in my master bedroom. I got the fumigators coming. He goes, "There must be some mice or something got in the house." And my buddy goes to him, "Oh, Courtnall got you."
Someone did that to me. Dead mouse in the shoe must be an old school trick.
A couple of the best ones I heard though were on Callahan O'Connor, one of my best friends. His old man. You used to pull some ruthless ones on to the point where you almost gave him a couple heart attacks.
Yeah, it's his wife's fault because she kept playing tricks on me in Victoria when I moved home because I lived 2 doors down from them. So the one year she did something and we watched for 2 weekends her husband Benj. He was setting up all these Christmas lights, a Santa, reindeer, this whole big thing. And it was a Saturday night and we were driving to a hockey game. I had both my kids were on the same team and I saw them he was in a tux and she was in an evening gown and basically so I knew they were going out for the evening. So on the way back, I brought 3 more guys on my team and we went to their house and we took every Christmas light off his house, all his extension cords down. We took the Santa, the reindeer, everything, and we set it up at my house. And so he brought all these people home from the event to see his house with all the Christmas decorations. And when they pulled up, it was pitch black. And so all these people that showed up there going, well, I thought you said you had all these Christmas decorations. So he called the cops, and the cops came to my house, and they said, excuse me, there's some neighbors down the street said that you stole all their Christmas lights. And I said, what are you talking about? We were watching a movie. And the guy goes, well, come out here and look. And I go, oh, this is crazy. There was extension cord coming out of my garage out to the front to the Santa and the reindeer, and the lights were all over my front gate. And I said, someone's screwing around. This is crazy. That's not my stuff. And so the cop left, and Benj and Karen came around the corner of my driveway, and I said, payback's a bitch.
and then the worst one to me was the boat one. When Cal,
that was classic.
Cal hit a little bit of a reef coming back in, and like they were going to have to get it fixed, or just bumped it to where like they maybe thought there was a little bit of damage.
So my brother was having a dinner party, and there was like, I don't even know how many people were there, but probably 40. And so I called his house, and I pretended that I was the harbor master in Victoria, and I said, is this the owners of the Irish Times or whatever their boat was called? I said, and she goes, yes, it is. And but my parents aren't home. I said, well, you better get them right away because their boat's sinking. So she went over to Russ's house, opened the front door, and started screaming, going, Mom, Dad, the harbor master just called and the boat's sinking. So Benj automatically thought for sure the boat was sinking. So he called the Coast Guard, the police, the harbor master. He called everyone that he could think of, and they had the Coast Guard there with the pumper boat. They had everything there by the time he was driving 60 miles an hour downtown Victoria. He got there. There was nothing wrong with the boat.
That was the one where he almost had a heart attack. Because Cal's sister came in crying. And this guy was just on the phone in the other room calling in the prank. And then she runs over to the dinner party, and he's just licking his chops laughing at this while Benj is about to have a jammer.
My brother called me later. He goes, you ended my dinner party. Everyone left because friggin' Benj was so freaked out.
Oh, my God.
Hey, it's got to be stressful. You're one of those guys that you always got to be on your toes. So you have people gunning for you, too.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to get them first. I guess that's the way you live.
Yeah.
Do you still? I'm curious. Do you still skate at all? I always wonder about when guys retire. Nope, me neither.
I skate. I skate twice a year. The Gretzky Fantasy Camp, which they didn't have it last year, and he probably won't have it again for. And the hockey for the homeless.
How much do you pay to attend that? How much do you pay to attend the Gretzky hockey camp?
Yeah.
No, he cuts his grass extra.
I'm serious.
No. Yeah, it's not cheap, but that was always a great time.
What else are you up to now? Like, what's on the? Are you working?
Yeah, I'm working. I have a mining company in Peru that I've been doing for 8 years. We've got a gold mine there, and we just started production, so I'm busy doing that. And then I'm involved in lots of real estate on Vancouver Island.
Well, that should be doing well for you. Well, we don't want to take too much more of your time. That was unbelievable. I'm sure a lot of our fans are going to appreciate those old pranks on the guys, and yeah, especially some of those legends. And next time we have you on, you could tell some more about Cliff Ronning, because apparently you had some good ones on Cliff Ronning, and even during that '94 Cup run, you were still pranking him in playoffs.
Oh, yeah. No, I knew how to. Cliffy was my roommate, so I tortured that poor guy, but it made him better.
Give us one quick Cliffy one before you take off, just to give the fans a little taste.
Okay, so we're basically Cliffy can never have any black tape anywhere in his stall, on his stick, anywhere. It's like he's allergic to black tape, so he only used white tape. So after a game, we were going into overtime, I put a whole stack of black tape in his stall, and he came back to his stall, and he went absolutely ballistic, and he was throwing the tape at me going, you're a fucking asshole. I can't fucking believe this. And I said, well, just fucking get out there and do something. And he scored the winner in overtime.
Oh, unbelievable.
That's how to get a guy going. Just straight torture.
Yeah, but Cliffy, he didn't like the number 13, so he wouldn't do anything. Cliffy is the most superstitious guy I ever played with.
When did you spray paint his parking?
Yeah, that was in the playoffs too. So that story is like, before every game, there was a parking lot for the owners and the coaches' wives, and it was right next to our door where the dressing room was. So before the game, all the time, this guy would come in and go, "Who's parked in the stall up there in Pat Quinn's wife's parking spot? They got to move their car." So one day I was in my sweat still. I said to the guy, "Show me the friggin' car." So I went up there with him and I saw it was Cliffy's car, and I said, "I'll fix it tomorrow." And he goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And what it was stall number 7. So he was superstitious that he had to park in this stall, and he wasn't telling anyone because he said every time he parked there, he scored. So I got the guy from the P&E to paint the stall number 13. And he almost blew his transmission the first time he pulled in. Never parked there again.
Oh my! Hey, well, listen, we thank you for those stories, and I bet you some of our old school listeners are going to like those ones because they can relate to all you old geezers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Lots of them.
Thanks
again.
Okay, you guys take care. Thanks for having me on. Talk to you later.
Anytime. See you, man. That interview was brought to you by Fuego Box. Very good news for all you listeners. Barstool has teamed up with our favorite hot sauce company, Fuego Box, just in time for the holidays. Everyone's done all the standard gift items. Clothes, cologne, a nice bottle of liquor. Done. We don't need that stuff. We've got something different and much better than any of those this holiday season. Fuego Box has put together a ton of hot sauce gift options at all price points, and for this promo with us, they're giving you 10% off plus a limited edition Barstool koozie. Who doesn't love a koozie? The koozie can be purchased anywhere and is only available, and is only available through this promo. So if you get 10% off an awesome gift plus the limited edition Barstool koozie thrown in for free, that would be what you're getting for free. All you have to do is go to fuegobox.com/barstool and you'll see all of the gift options to choose from. The discount and free koozie edition will automatically be applied. That's fuegobox.com/barstool. FUEGO box.com/barstool. Hot sauce and cold beer. Sounds like the perfect holiday season mixture. Thank you for listening.
Huge thank you to Jeff Courtnall. I love the different personalities that come on here. Have we had any other pranksters other than JR? Who was another prank? Or Donor was a bit of a prankster. And I was not a prankster when I played. Were you?
Oh, Fleury. We did have Marc-Andre Fleury on. He's a prankster.
Fleury's the ultimate when he shoe checked my dad. I think that I mean I like to prank, but I was getting pranked a lot early. And then I started being like, dude, if I prank, you get pranked back, and it's just like, it's such a vicious cycle.
I got enough going on up in my head.
Yeah,
to
like I
would
be like nervous for a game, or nervous that my teammate was going to retire, and then say I partied too much, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, I'd be getting like a fucking my hotel room put in the hallway. So.
Do you guys remember when the year I made the team and we had that luncheon, and then you guys sewed my one pant leg? So like one side was like a short and one side was a pant, and then they stitched my my car keys into my pockets, like, so I couldn't get my hand in my pocket, so I had to like bum a ride to wherever the luncheon was, and I showed up, and obviously Scuderi's fucking loving life, and Marc-Andre Fleury's like, oh, what happened? And it was probably that motherfucker.
Me and Malone like sewed Letang's pants shut like before Christmas break or something. He was losing his mind.
Hey, you guys prank Letang a lot. I'm nervous about there being like a hit piece coming out on you guys.
If Letang hates my guts, like, I don't blame him. But I think actually if we ran into each other, it'd be friendly. But there was a while he was like, I hate your guts.
Yeah,
dude.
you weren't vicious to him. We're not talking like stuff that's gonna get you in trouble.
No,
down the
once
road.
I started realizing how nasty he was gonna be, I was like, this kid's gonna be incredible.
Like,
I kind of
he was gonna get you your next contract. He was like your next.
He's gonna be the main reason you get traded. You might want to stop pranking him.
Didn't you guys nail his Prada shoes to the floor too?
I don't know. There was a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff back then.
His fault for
Biz is pulling
shoes?
out his chest hair. Like,
we have this all on camera.
No, I'm combing it.
Dude, it's the weirdest thing, RA. It's straight out of the
I can see it. Oh, I can see he's making faces at me. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so there's one thing I want to talk about, and I got in a discussion with a few of my buddies who work at the NHL.
Not a big deal.
And we're talking about the next CBA, and because the owners have gotten what they've wanted the last 3 CBAs, now it's kind of turned its course where now it's going to be the players demanding something in order to get a deal done.
Oh, yeah. What are they going to get, though?
Right. But what they want is, I think they're going to want Olympics. and that's been talked about. And I might get ridiculed by players about this. I'm on the NHL side about not letting players go because fuck the IOC. You know how much money they're making off NHL players to go play in the Olympics? It's 100% the highest grossing sport at the Winter Olympics. There's not even a question. Right? Are we all in agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
NHL doesn't see a dollar from that. They're not even allowed to use the fucking footage from it.
That's
fucking bullshit.
I remember that being an issue.
TJ Oshie goes and scores that goal that, and then afterward he's like, everyone's like, you're an American hero. He goes, no, the people in Camo are a hero. Fucking
what a
legend. If I was American, I would beat off that quote. Bald Eagles, I would get them tattooed on my nuts. Fucking whatever, 4th of July shit. You guys get the point. And I'm saying is if the IOC would buck up and say, hey, this is what type of revenue we're going to make off the players. Let's get a 50-50 split here or something where owners from the league got a share in that. Why? Because your players are going over there and risking, what if they get hurt? What if you have 2-star players in the Olympics, you're making a playoff push, all of a sudden those guys get hurt over there, and now you don't make the playoffs, and now you're not going to see that playoff revenue because you agreed that they could go play in the Olympics to quote-unquote grow the game? Oh, really? If the IOC was so down with growing the fucking game, they'd let you use the clips on the NHL network to grow the game. So stop using that excuse. Let's find a number what's going to satisfy everyone, because let's say, for instance, let's say Ovechkin goes and plays for Russia and gets hurt, and now he can't make that run last year with the Washington Capitals. At least that team has been compensated financially for the playoff games they might have missed because they either didn't make the playoffs or they didn't make a run as far as they could have. Am I wrong here?
No, go ahead, RA.
I'd say the IOC is basically a gangster organization anyways. They shake down everybody. They basically... They hustle everyone. They're not really an institution with a lot of morals. They don't give a fuck about the NHL or NHL ratings or whatever. They just want to make whatever money they can, get everybody their bribes, and fucking pillage a city. And then 10 years after the Olympics, all the things they built for the Olympics is still standing there unused. So the IOC is a pack of dirtbags. You can't really trust them at all. They don't care about the NHL. They're going to do what's best for the IOC, not the NHL. Having said that, I would prefer to have the Olympics because it's a great treat to have.
Absolutely. I want them so bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, the owners deserve... Well, I don't even... there has to be something to do with the TV rights. You have to figure out the highlights. That's the first thing. You can't have them go if you can't use the highlights. That's true. But it's just so much bigger than the fact... than all the money and all that stuff you're talking about. It's just how great it is when players are in the Olympics. It's the best part of the season. And it's also the best part of the season for the guys who aren't going because they get 10 days off. This is a win-win for players. And, I mean, if owners are wanting more money, I mean, fuck, give the players some of the money. I mean, like, it's a huge issue because I think it is incredible for hockey, but... I do understand the injury part because if you lose a guy like Tavares, knees fucked up, boom, you're furious. But it's just so great for the fans.
Well, regarding that, another one's going to be they're going to have to lower the escrow number and set a price. Like players don't want to pay. I think what they got it listed at now over 10%. Yeah, and what escrow is, for those asking, it's basically taken out of the player's money. At the end of the year, they figured out what they paid in what it's called
hockey-related revenue.
Hockey-related revenue, whatever formula, blah blah blah, and then whatever that the owners lost from that, they take out of the players' money, and then let's say there's 3 or 4% left over, then the players get that money back. Well, a sneaky way of hiding that and those numbers for some teams is some teams would leverage concert tickets and suite tickets for concerts with like Toronto Maple Leafs tickets or Chicago Blackhawks tickets, and then they would work out like alcohol deals where it was getting paid through a different filter, so money being spent at games wasn't actually going into the kitty. So I mean, these owners are smart people. They're business guys. They know how to hide money. They got good financial guys. So that's another thing where they want to hammer a number down and say, hey, we're not going above 5% or not above 4%. So, yeah, should the players get paid from the whole Olympic experience? Sure, but it would be maybe they could work it out where it comes back in HRR.
Gee, it's so convoluted, man. You feel like you need to smoke a joint after to relax your brain. And speaking of, our next guest is probably the perfect guy to talk about such a situation. Riley Cote, he come on to talk about cannabis and CBD oil and all the cannabinoids and all that particular stuff. He's an ex-player who's been he's been beating this drum for a while, and he's been having some success for it. He just won an award from the Cannabis Business Awards. He won an award from that place. So let's send it over to Riley Cote right now.
This interview is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. I think this might be my first ad read that's not Eagle Energy or Herbal Active.
Good luck.
Omaha Steaks gourmet holiday gifts make life easier and a whole lot more delicious. And for my listeners, Omaha Steaks has a limited time offer. Get 28 favorites that are guaranteed to thrill for only $49.99. That's a $195 value. Holy shit, price drops everywhere. Go to omahasteaks.com, type Chiclets, not Biz20, type Chiclets in the search bar and add the family gift package to your cart. The omahasteak.com. Oh, shit. That's omahasteaks.com. Code Chiclets. Don't wait. Order today. Guys, that's fucking pretty good value. $49.99 for $195 worth of meat.
Great value and also great reading.
And now we'd like to bring on to the show a guy who was famous for a few years for punching faces for the Philadelphia Flyers from 2007 to 2010. And now he advocates for the use of CBD oil and hemp-based products for players in their post-career. I'd like to welcome to the show Riley Cote. Riley, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, our pleasure. So I see you have a pretty big presence on Twitter about the hemp and hemp-related products. Tell us exactly what you're into and what are you doing and what your purpose is these days.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it kind of dates back when I retired in 2010. I kind of had an awakening. I came to the crossroads of my career and in my path and retired, and I kind of took on this different way of living and started cutting out shit that was destructive to my, to my health and my well-being, and I started incorporating more, natural and plant-based type of foods and herbs, and I really started to discover the nutritional profile of the hemp seed and started understanding the non-psychoactive cannabinoids and the healing properties, and became passionate about all that, and really kind of saw myself entering this space not only from an advocacy standpoint but in a business standpoint. So I just kind of educated myself and created a foundation back then called the Hemp Heals Foundation. Eventually my advocacy efforts have evolved into the sports side of things, where I helped co-found an organization called Athletes for Care, really kind of normalizing cannabinoids through sports and using the platform to really show the value on the recovery side of things, how CBD specifically, but I mean THC is also a healing compound as well that needs to be talked about in a positive manner too. So eventually my advocacy efforts kind of transitioned into the business world and growing hemp and processing it for CBD and fiber and the whole bit, and then trying to get in on the dispensing side of things, on the medical side of things in Pennsylvania too. So I just really believe in the plant and what it can do for not only just the healing component for the individual, but what it can do outside of that as far as local economics and for the environment. So I know I dragged on that one, but that's kind of the long and short of it.
I'd say a lot of our listeners are probably familiar with cannabis and or THC, but what's the most misunderstood thing about hemp? I think people hear that and they think like 1960s hippies or something, but what's the most understood thing about hemp?
Well, hemp has to be grown below 0.3% THC to be legally deemed hemp. So, the THC amount is insignificant as far as creating a high. So everyone's kind of concerned about that. And, that's kind of the stigma against cannabis as a whole, is that, it's psychoactive. So it basically equates to non-psychoactive cannabinoids. So you get the anti-inflammatory properties, you get the anti-anxiety, promotes sleep, neuroprotectant, the whole bit. But again, without the psychoactivity and all the healing benefits. So it's interesting. It's the laws are wacky, and people have kind of found ways, in between the laws to kind of dissect the cannabis plant and most of the healing properties lie within, the CBD and then the minor cannabinoids, and not the THC. I mean, THC is important for certain things, but, on the spiritual and more on the adult use side of things. But as far as, on the healing and the medicinal therapeutic side of things, the CBD is, one of the most important compounds.
Well, Rise, besides all the things that you described and how beneficial I believe that it could be for athletes, I got to ask you that, you've been pretty vocal about this for at least 2-3 years now. Was Philadelphia a little weird about that when you were part of the organization? I know you were a coach during the time where you became an advocate. Was there any conversation there considering, some people's outlook on it?
Yeah, I think there eventually was. I mean, I actually started speaking publicly about this in 2010. I really kind of walked on the line of talking about hemp from a nutritional standpoint. They're really not talking about THC at all. Just kind of the industrial components and the building materials and the fuel, the biomass, and the whole bit. But eventually, I just couldn't hold it back any longer. You know what I mean? I mean, I like consuming cannabis my whole life, and it's just like within me, I just had to come out and say something. I mean, it was just like I'd be a fool not to acknowledge the other side of cannabis and be honest with it. So I think a lot of guys are like, "What the hell are you doing, Rouse?" Like, you know what I mean? You're sacrificing your corporate sports job and all this shit. And it's like, eventually, I just had to. You know what I mean? It was like, I just believe in it so much that I just know that it's not a negative thing. I was just like, it's a positive thing. When I speak about it in a positive manner, and it just needs to be talked about more and people to be enlightened. You know what I mean? We're just kind of conditioned to think that this is poison and it's bad for us. And you know what I mean? And meanwhile, we're sucking back darts and chewing on, high fructose corn syrup and all this other shit. And we just want to talk about public health. It's like, we just need to kind of shift our philosophy. And when we talk about, Mother Nature, really, it's simple.
Well, I think people on the other side of the argument are going to be on the wrong side eventually, and they're going to know that. Now, based on maybe some of the pushback that you were feeling from the organization, is that maybe what ultimately led to you not coaching for the organization anymore?
Well, yeah, I mean, so the simplest way I can explain it is like I've been vocal for some time. They all knew I was speaking about it, but eventually I actually got I got the platform at one of their annual alumni meetings before the golf tournament, and I actually presented with Lana to be my business partner, but also Lindy Snyder, who's the daughter of Ed Snyder, who owned the Flyers and founded the Flyers back in the 70s. And we basically got in front of the 45 alumni and presented Cannabis 101, just kind of like separating industrial hemp versus medical cannabis, talking about the state laws in Pennsylvania versus New Jersey, because that's where most of the guys live. And just kind of laying it out there and just kind of being honest with the conversation about, guys, like, you're all in pain, you all got anxiety, you all got sleep issues, you all got something going on that cannabis or hemp-based products can help you with. So I actually gave them all samples, CBD samples, that night. Probably half of them consumed them and tried them out. But the next morning, I had like at least 7 or 8 guys come up to me and said, I slept better, my joints feel better, but just general well-being just feel better. And I was just like, fuck, man, it's like, this is it. Like, this is exactly what I'm trying to accomplish. And it's,
and with no negative side effects, mind you.
Yeah, exactly. Just general well-being and just like sustainable wellness. And then, the next day, actually, Hexie called me up and the conversation was 25 seconds long. It was just like, he never specifically said, he's like, we've changed our minds on this direction this year, and we're going to go in a different direction. I said, well, what's changed since last time I talked to you? It was 3 weeks ago. And he's like, you're just kind of like hummed and hot, and he said, we're just heading in a different direction. So I was like, okay, after like 7 years of coaching or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, I think they're just, I landed up being a liability. I see it. I put myself out there. I knew what I was doing. You know what I mean? I just believe in it so much. I just feel like we're failing our guys and our players if we can't even talk about, honest ways to recover when we're swinging, opioids and sleeping pills and the rest of the shit around. And it's just like, it's just like,
Riles, it's kind of amazing.
Creating addicts.
I don't mean to ignore you or interrupt you, sorry, but it's kind of amazing how when you're maybe getting fired or let go for the right reasons, how little you give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm doing the right thing right now. I don't mind if I go down swinging, because eventually you're going to probably come up to me and say, fuck, dude, was I wrong about that one? And I didn't. Whit wanted to jump in and ask you a question. I just figured I should chime in that on the end.
No, you're right.
No, the first time we ever played against each other was 04, 05. It was the year the entire season was canceled, and you ended up becoming a Calder Cup champ with the Philly Phantoms. But in looking at your hockey DB and kind of looking back into the player you were, I never even realized, you played 4 years in Prince Albert in the WHL, and that first rookie year, you not only, you weren't in the AHL, you weren't even in the Coast. You spent the whole year pretty much in the CHL, the Central Hockey League, for people who don't know, the Memphis River Kings, 241 penalty minutes. So you were pretty much aware that, listen, I'm gonna make it to the NHL by fighting. Is that kind of how you went into it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I wasn't drafted. I had a couple of years in Prince Albert there where I put up some decent numbers in the grand scheme of things, but I knew I was never going to put I was never going to make it as a goal scorer. And I just kind of I was a competitive guy, and just said at least I knew I could teach myself to to fight and just be all in and take on this role and create this new identity. And that was kind of like my just what it kind of consumed me, and that was the only thing I knew, just like to work hard, get after it, and be physical and get in your face. And it was just like the same role in every league. It's just down in the zoo in the Central Hockey League, it's just like it's just like, what the hell, these freaks of nature coming out of the woodworks, just like juiced up 240 like freaks. I was like, it was like just, I was like, what the hell did I sign up for? But fuck, it was at least at least I was able to find my way out of that mess and eventually do it in a different league. But it was it's a grind, no question.
And the crazy thing is, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, I'm kind of just like spitballing here, but I can't imagine that many guys who played, basically a full season in the Central Hockey League ended up playing over 150 NHL games. And I don't know if you know of any, but I'm guessing that you're one of very few. Schlemko played in the CHL?
Schlemko played in a city that was like right on the border with Mexico, man. Schlemko came
El Paso?
Sicario?
Not many people get that joke, Whit. That's an R8 joke because it was a movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Written by.
Sorry, Raul. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're good.
So like Whit just said, you're another guy. We've had a couple guys on who were never drafted. They managed to fight their way into the show. And you had some nice scraps for yourself. I was just looking at hockeyfights.com, 65 NHL fights and 156 NHL games. I look, averaged 2.63 penalty minutes per game. That's a pretty nice average. Who's the toughest guy you fought in all your NHL scraps, Riley?
Jesus, there's so many of them, but I mean, between Donald Bashir kicked my ass pretty good one time, and George the Rock, Colton Orr, Brian McGrath. I mean, there's got to be at least 7, 8 super legit guys, but everyone's dangerous. But it was never an easy night. It was certainly a challenge. I mean, actually, the first couple of years fighting, I kind of really enjoyed it and took on the role. But it's just like eventually when it's like, especially when they played my first year in the NHL, it was like, holy shit, I gotta go do this again next year. You know what I mean? It's just like what the hell did I sign up for here?
That's amazing that you say that, because when basically I switched from being a defenseman to forward, I knew that was now going to have to be my role. And I would say in the first half the season, there was such a rush to doing it a lot for the first time. And the amount of praise that you would receive from your teammates kind of made me really want to do it. But halfway through that first year, I think I ended up fighting like 30 times that season. I was like, fuck, man, I have to keep doing this. So it's all of a sudden that's like you're doing that now. There's no going back. And I mean, fuck, you had 65 fights in your NHL career. What's even crazier to me is to think that Ty Domi, who leads the NHL, and he has the NHL record, I think he fought 133 times. I think that's the NHL record. Maybe it might even be 333 times.
Yeah.
That's just the NHL and doesn't include preseason games either. Like, it doesn't include juniors.
No, that's regular season, man. Like, fuck.
Exactly.
And at first you said you were okay and you embraced it. Did it eventually get to a point you're like, I fucking hate putting this mask on every night?
Oh yeah. It definitely got to that. I think when I first started doing it, I had some success like early, like Central Hockey League. I was just like young and full of piss and vinegar, and won a championship and had a little momentum. And then went to the East Coast League, and I actually had a shitty year there. But the following year was the lockout year, and went from signing 4 PTOs to winning a Calder Cup championship. I was just like riding this momentum, and just like And then eventually, like after my first year in the NHL, the momentum was kind of like, I was playing less, and I had a couple injuries, and it was just like, and then it was just like, having to prepare to fight the same old dudes, and it was just like, you know what I mean? It was just like, eventually it was just like, I felt like I kind of like got to where I needed to mentally. Like, I played in the NHL, I fought the toughest dudes, and had a great like year, but then it was like, it was hard mentally to sustain that like, I don't even know that emotional high. Like it's like this chronic state of anxiety almost. Like, as man, it's like
it's bad.
It's just like it's that. You know what I mean? It's like performance anxiety, and it's like, am I going to even play anxiety? Am I going to fight the toughest dude in the league anxiety? And it's like, holy shit! It's like it builds up, and it's just like you amp yourself up for this anxiety. You know what I mean? It's a wild thing. It's a deal.
And before I pass over Whit, I just want to chime in there. I still enjoy the fighting naturally. Like if it happens where 2 guys are going at it in front of the net and it happens, it's like the more of the thinking about it before fucking pregame nap and all that shit that just adds up and the anxiety, and it just builds and it builds and it builds. You can't wait for the fucking off season. So Whit, sorry about that, buddy. I just wanted to back to the end.
No. Coach, I was just curious. Kind of a 2-part question. The first part being, how is your head now? How in terms of the post concussion type things? Do you notice any issues like that, or are things pretty good? And I know for a fact that CBD stuff can help, but I'm just curious. Now where you're living, how do you feel health wise?
So I feel unbelievable. Honestly, the best I've ever felt, and
that's awesome.
I really attribute to my CBD use, and that was one of the big things. Is like when I retired and started discovering these non-psychoactive cannabinoids like CBD and learning about them, and learning about this prohibition, and learning about the U.S. government holding a patent on cannabinoids as a neuroprotectant and antioxidant. Where it's like it started all making sense to me. And I started making sense of it. I'm like, this is a real healing tool, but a high anti-inflammatory, not only protect the brain. Promote neurogenesis, and as I learn more, like the Israeli army has been using it for 25 years for any sort of brain trauma in war and all that stuff. So it's like it's kind of like, wow, I'm like, I have to be using this for my basically kind of like mitigate my collateral damage, but this has to be my mission. It's kind of using cannabis to be not the solution, but a big part of the solution for the concussion epidemic that we talk about. You know what I mean? Protecting guys' brain. I mean, everyone wants to make the helmet thicker and all this, this nonsense. And it's like, we can protect the brain from the inside out, and it's been studied. There's research on this stuff. So I'm obsessed with the brain now, mainly because of me getting punched in the face for 8 years and a few in the Central Hockey League, and discovering this because. I was seeking something viable and sustainable, because a lot of these treatments, guys are just dragged to the mud. See guys on Valium and all this other garbage to treat their concussions. That's not the way.
Yeah, that kind of goes into the second part, and I can guess where you're leaning, but it's more a question about where do you stand on how everything was approached in those years before we kind of realized what was going on. And forget the 80s and the 90s. God, I'm talking even, 05, 06, 06, 07, those years when you were playing, you're fighting a lot. And, the league pretty much did turn a blind eye. And some people say guys knew what they were getting involved with. And some people say, well, they were told they have to play if they're healthy. So are you upset looking back on how the league treated guys and how team doctors treated guys?
You know what? No, I'm not, and I don't think that they were equipped with the proper tools. I mean, I think we live in archaic times with, medieval treatments in a sense where we'd rather, prescribe synthetic heroin than use cannabis, and we'd rather wash it down with alcohol than to endorse spring water or something like that. Like we're so confused on our messaging with what we're trying to do. Like I'm more mad at how we got it so wrong and why we're doing it. How we're so far away from really truly doing the right thing. But as far as signing up for it, I knew what I was getting myself into. Yeah, I mean, I'm accountable, and that was kind of the thing I came up, kind of figured out when I was retiring. Is like I was at a crossroads, mentally, physically, career-wise. I was like, what the hell just happened? I was just like trying to live my childhood dream of playing NHL, and now it's coming to a halt. My physical body's broken down, mentally kind of broken down, like concussion shit. I was like, where do I go with this? And it was just like, this was it. I mean, this was like the path that made the most sense. And
I think, I think the smartest thing Bettman could do, especially with the amount of heat he takes, is implement all this stuff. No brainer for the league. Grinnell, our producer, actually wrote an article. You talked about it, right, Grinnell?
Yeah. I just kind of wrote an article saying that I think, kind of echoing, a lot of the stuff Riley said and that he's been doing, and basically that I'm just a big fan of everything that he's been doing.
And Riles, I now reflecting on that NHL career, I know we're kind of talking about a little bit of the dark side of it. Any fun stories you can share with us about the boys, or any of your funny encounters, maybe at rookie parties or?
Oh Jesus!
Part 2 of the podcast coming up.
Oh, you put me on the spot here. I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, one of the ones that sticks with me the most, and I don't want to sue anybody here, but we were out in preseason in Carolina, late night at a hot dog stand, rocking our suits, and I'm gonna have to throw him under the bus. My buddy, a good buddy, Aaron Ashram.
Oh fuck!
Guys behind us, lipping off to probably his girlfriend or some other girl. And
Wrong door, buddy.
Says something. Oh yeah. Next thing you know, look over. The guy's in a puddle. Like Ash had pinned him down in a suit. In a puddle, swinging, and then all of a sudden the girl's going crazy, and we're calling the cops. Next thing you know, I think the other guy was with us, got a hot dog. We wound up running to a cab. Next thing you know, the cops come and escape somehow, and without any
wow, swept under the rug.
Any police activity. Then we get back to the hotel, and our assistant coach is delivering a foot massage to some lady at 3 a.m. and our game was at 3 p.m. that day, and we rolled in and busted him, giving a woman a massage right in the lobby, and he busted us, and
it was more of a let's just keep
it wasn't a good start to the season.
All quiet.
The new coaching staff, yeah.
Hey, so is this a true story that? Okay, so we were playing you in Philly when I was with the Phoenix Coyotes, and I was like, oh, shit, I got to fucking fight this guy tonight. Like, pregame nap, dog shit, get to the rink. And then in warm-ups, I believe you were on the ice, but you weren't playing, thank God, because you torn like a rib muscle in warm-up.
That did happen, but that happened in Ottawa, actually. So I was out for a torn oblique. I was out for like 7 weeks with this goddamn thing.
In warm-ups it happened?
Right, but I believe you...
In warm-ups, yeah. So then, like, towards the end of my rehab, I was, like, trying to get back. And if anybody's had a core injury, I mean, an oblique tear or an ab tear,
well,
it's
relax. You have
how
to
hard it is
have
to come back.
have a core injury.
Hey,
but you were out there for warm-up. And I was like, fuck, he's back. He's playing. And then I think Uppy came up to me. He's like, no, he's not playing. He like tore his rib or something. And I was like, oh, I thought you did it in warm up. I was like, oh. like a
Yeah, right.
fucking
Well,
message.
I had, but that was like towards the end of the rehab 7 weeks later.
Did you two ever fight? Did you two ever fight each other?
Fuck no.
No, we never did. No.
You know what the best thing about playing the Phantoms was the fact that you had other tough guys, so I could go after them instead of you. They had a bunch of middleweights always.
Yeah, the Phantoms always had stacked tough teams. I'm trying to think of who was even around. Was Grant around when you were in the minors together? I think.
I don't know.
We played against each other in Pittsburgh, and you were with there's someone else there at the same time when we crossed paths with Goddard. Maybe I think it was.
Hey, what's even crazier is me and Gratz played on that same Calder Cup team when we won in Manchester, and we actually had another kid on our team named Scott Sabrin who was a lefty, and he was probably fucking tougher than me and Gratz. That was our fourth line for part of the year. In the American League in 2015, teams won't even touch our guys.
That's insane, eh?
It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I know. You never see that again.
Right. Riley, you play with a fellow I'm a big fan of down in Philadelphia, Scott Hartnell. Word around the campfire that he's packing heat down about his knee. Can you confirm or deny on that?
On his knee?
No, he's packing heat. He's got a wrench down about his knee.
He's saying he's got a big cock. The rumor on the street is he's got a big cock.
We do a lot of cock talk on this show.
Yeah. I mean, I would say he's well hung. Yeah, I mean, I played junior hockey with the guy. Played the Flyers with him. He's at my wedding party. I mean, I can honestly say I've been around the dude since he was 16. So, I mean, he's definitely above average. You got to give it to him.
Yeah, he likes
a guy I would actually love to have on this podcast one time that doesn't get talked about and shitty way to kind of how his career ended, but you played with him, is Mike Richards.
Yeah.
Can you kind of go into, because I remember, I don't know, he joined your guys' team with Carter and you ended up winning the Calder Cup. I just remember being like, this fucking kid, he's like Bobby Clark. He's like a young Bobby Clark. Yeah. And I always heard he was a great teammate. What type of guy was he to play with? Because he doesn't really get mentioned as much as he should for the career he had.
Yeah, you know what? I love Richie, and he's a good buddy of mine. I think he's just one of those dudes that just like he just wants to play hockey and not deal with the rest of the bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He didn't want to talk to the media. He don't want to answer questions. He's a guy that just like when it's time to show up and play hard, like he show up and play hard, man. He's one of those guys that was like, he was amazing to watch. Like he came out as junior and helped us win that Calder Cup, but just like to see him compete. After that and play with him when I was at the Flyers and see how he competed and he has the ability to turn it on and be a game changer. It's tough to see what happened with him, but he was. I love Richie. I mean, I thought he was a great leader. He was a quiet leader. He was one of those guys that just go about his business.
Do you guys keep in touch?
Not as much as I should, but every couple months or so.
Well, you guys, when you were there, you guys had some pretty fun teams. And Scotty Upshaw was there. And there was a story that ended up getting on the radio or something about a porn star. Like, I don't know. She was hanging around with the boys. And did you remember that one?
Yeah, Gina Lynn?
Yeah, Gina Lynn.
It was definitely Gina Lynn, yeah.
Yeah, Gina Lynn. We
became friends with Gina Lynn. Yeah, she's a friend. And what part of the story? Just the fact that
well, I kind of want the whole story. Like, how do you guys get hooked up with her? I believe that like one of the guys ended up crushing her, and she had a boyfriend, and then all of a sudden it got on the radio, and they were like battling on the radio. And
well, no, I mean we became friendly with her, and actually her husband, who was a porn star as well, and. I mean, after he, hung out with her, like he partyed with her, and a couple of the boys did too. So I mean, who knows what the hell happened? But I don't know if there's any truth to it. But I think it ended up getting on the radio just because they were seen out together. And but she was around, she was around for a while, yeah, and him and the husband too, believe it or not.
What was Peter Nedved like?
Oh, Nedved was awesome. And I only played with him for a few months when he got sent down, but like honestly, like it was comical. Like he rolled into the locker room when he got sent down there, like nothing even happened. Like I think he was still collecting 2.2. Hey boys, like just like he'd been on a team the whole time, and he worked his ass off showing up at the Halloween party, with a goofy mask and had a good attitude. I mean, I thought he was a class act for his situation for sure.
Coates, I heard a story from, I'll just say I heard it from Scotty Upshaw. So Scotty Upshaw is heading down to the bus before the game, getting I would say the 5:00 bus for the 7:30 game, and he was walking down the hallway with his luggage, and he just hears someone going to town, just a sex fest in room, let's say 7:05. Well, he goes down to the bus, and all of a sudden it's 7:05, and the bus hasn't left yet, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Well, I guess Ned's had texted the PR guy or whatever to hold the bus, and all of a sudden Ned's comes on late, and his hair's up and fucking a mess, and up. He's like, "What the fuck was that?" And he's like, "Was that you crushing in the room?" And he said, "Yeah." He made the bus wait because he was finishing off a pregame kill.
No way.
But that is legendary shit.
That is legendary. Yeah.
So he was a wild man.
Coach, I know we talked a lot about the hemp, but we didn't actually get into the bud much. I just had a quick question. Are you a vape guy, a ball guy, a oneie, or do you prefer your classic J?
Yeah, I'm more of a bong guy. I can't get away from the dry flower. I do vape, for convenience in certain situations, but right. I mean, it's dry flower when the time is right.
There you go.
Well, hey, Riley, we really appreciate you coming on. And for someone that's into what you're doing now, I would have never guessed it when you were fucking breathing like a farm animal trying to kill me in the corners. Just an absolute savage play against. I'll never forget your fight against Ryan Vandenbush in the lockout year. Oh, my God. But thank you so much for coming on, dude. I'm really happy, even though, we've never met, that you're doing well and feeling good and happy where you are in life. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for the platform.
No problem. Thanks for coming on, Coach.
That interview was also brought to you by 23andMe. Now through December 25th, that's Christmas, the 23andMe DNA kits are on sale. 23andMe helps you understand what your DNA can tell you about you and your family story. It's named for the 23 pairs of chromosomes that make up our DNA. RA has 22. A 23andMe DNA kit is the perfect gift for everyone you love. That's never been a better way to give the gift of genetic discovery to your parents, your siblings, your aunts, your grandparents, and everyone else on the list. It's the one gift that you can buy the entire family that will be unique for each loved one. 23andMe Health and Ancestry Service includes 90-plus personalized genetic reports that offer DNA insights on what makes you unique. It's easy to do. You simply spit into the tube. Call her daddy. It's provided in your 23andMe kit. Register your sample to your personal 23andMe account, and in a few weeks, receive your personalized online reports. Now, through December 25th, get 30% off any 23andMe kit. Order your DNA kits at 23andme.com/chiclets. That's the number 23andme.com/chiclets. Again, that's 23andme.com/chiclets. Thank you very much to Riley Cote. Some very interesting thoughts. I can only imagine, RA, your speech if you ever won a cannabis award. They'd be hooking you off the stage with old cane by the time you were trying to get through with all your points.
Hey, Beavis, is this thing on? Yeah, I'd love to win a weed award. I probably feel like I should have already won some sort of weed award by now. Guys,
for how much you sold on the streets.
Oh, come on, guy. It was in college. I needed beer money.
Rear, you want a quick funny story? So we were going to get that content piece with Sean Avery. I spent 3 hours interviewing him yesterday, hanging out at his apartment. He's basically American Psycho.
Oh, yeah. Sociopath. An incredible one.
He's the man. I love him. I know how people feel about him, whatever. I don't give a shit. So on the way, we see a girl on a phone conversation, but she had a Boston Bruins shirt on, and Grinelli goes, "Oh, go ask her if she knows Rear Admiral." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. The cameras are around. Maybe she knows who Rear Admiral is." So I go up and I ask her, I go, "Do you know who Rear Admiral is?" And she goes, "Hold on a sec," to tell the person on the phone, give me. She takes her earbuds out and she's like, "What?" I said, "Do you know Rear Admiral?" And she goes, "Can you get the fuck away from me?"
It's so offended. So offended.
And then it clicked in. I didn't realize how offensive your name is. Imagine going up to a strange woman and say, "Hey, you know who Rear Admiral is?"
He's in the Navy.
Yeah, well, I mean, didn't you say you got the name because you went down the Brown Highway in college?
That's So is he college sodomy related nickname? Nothing out of the ordinary.
We're gonna have
nothing to take offense about.
Hey, you think they'll take RA on the Call Her Daddy podcast? Imagine hearing RA sex stories.
There's just puke covering the windows.
Nothing grosses wits out the idea of me actually having sex.
I think seeing you in your element on the couch in the sweatpants.
What's your favorite position, RA?
Oh, dude, nope. Moving along, RA.
In a recliner with the remote control.
But nonetheless, like your name almost cost me getting maced and kicked in the nuts on the streets of New York City. So,
but Sean Avery did give you a get out of jail free card, which is confirmed. It works.
But Sean Avery gave me this card, and it's like what's the name of it? PBR card?
No clue.
But a sergeant gave it to him. Where, like, let's say you get fucking pulled over, like speeding over like 50, and you just hand this over, and they kind of like look at you like with like disgust, but they take the card and they say, "All right, get on your way."
It's not like they find it on you. You actually go, "Here, dude." Like, that sounds like
he
Russia.
made it sound like if I was in a back alley in Brooklyn getting a blowjob from a hooker while I was doing a fucking key bump, and the cop knocked on the window, I'd just give him this card out the window, and he'd be like, "All right, have a nice night." And I was like, "Come on, it can't be."
No, he'd be like, "Oh, can I have a song, please?" You're like, "Yeah, sure." Then leave me alone.
Yeah,
Got one more of those?
tag him in.
Oh man, all right.
I think. Do you want to talk about RA's gambling corner? How we killed it again?
I would just do anything to see you be like, "Oh, officer, everything's fine. Here, take this card." He's like, "Put your fucking hands behind your back. You're under arrest, biz nasty, you douchebag."
And no, I don't want to bump.
Well, here's the thing: is I questioned it, so I went up to a cop while we were walking, and I said, "Do you know what this is?" I held it up, and she goes, "Yep." And I said, "Is this a get out of jail free card?" And she kind of looked at me like, "Yeah." And I go, "Can you give these away?" And she goes, "No, I'm not a sergeant."
Wow.
So it was legit.
All right.
And then she saw the cameras.
I'm obviously not going to test it out with the hookers and blow. I'll actually hand it off to RA for that.
Hey, I love that Grinelli's going to be like, "Oh, I'm with Biz. I got the get out of jail free card." And then he's like, "Biz? And you're just like wheeling some broad. He's like, "Oh, fuck." All right. So your gambling corner. Hot again.
I'd say 8-1 is hot for my last 9 picks.
Dude, you're making me money. I like you a lot. That, you know what? The Toronto call, thinking back against Carolina, that was money.
Oh yeah, 0-2 with Nylander. It was a guarantee.
Money. That was money.
Said coming off an ugly loss, Carolina sitting at home after a long Western trip. It was too easy. And I said, make sure Freddie Anderson started. He started. I told everyone take the money line. I hope they did take the puck line as well because it was a gorgeous price, plus 220. I picked up a few dimes, not a big deal. My second pick was Pittsburgh. They're actually playing Wednesday night, so obviously we won't know until the episode comes out how they did. I had a pretty good return on Toronto, so I'm not like going to double down on Pittsburgh, but I still do like Pittsburgh. They're playing Chicago. Obviously, by the time people hear this, it already played, but I did give the same pick Sunday. So hopefully Pittsburgh will get us to 9-1 because they're playing the Blackhawks. Blackhawks have lost 8 in a row for the second time this season. What a stunning fall that they've had, man. NHL worst, minus 34 goal differential. They're only 3-11-2 under Jeremy Colleton. I had one of our listeners, he tweeted me last night. He tweeted at me. He's a Hawks fan. He bet every possible thing against them last night. He went 10-0. Like, he took Winnipeg first period, Winnipeg over, Winnipeg. Legit went 10-0 in all his bets. So
wow.
All right. I'm not down with you not saying the number you won. How much money did you win?
Couple dimes, he said.
What the fuck does that mean?
A few dimes.
Biz doesn't know. A
dime. Yeah, we got to get maybe one of the future episodes.
Dimes 1,000, nickels 500.
Yeah, I'll give a little tutorial.
It doesn't make sense.
I had $2,000.
He's lost plenty. He's lost.
Yeah. You don't.
He's
I don't
still
text
down.
you when
He's
I lose,
still way down in life, dude.
Don't want you. Anyone
true.
who gambles is losing.
Very true.
So, RA, who do you have this week?
Like I just said, I got Pittsburgh playing Wednesday night. I gave that pick out Sunday, but I was going to wait and see how I did. I don't have any picks yet for the next few days because we're still kind of doing Sunday's gambling corner. So I don't have any.
Hey, buddy, it's your show. If you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it, buddy. They need to beg for you now.
But to answer your question, I picked up 4 dimes on Toronto because I had 2 dimes on them flat, which 2,000 to make 2,000 just on the regular win the game, and then I had 1,000 on the puck line, which got back 2,000. So I picked up 4 just on Toronto, FYI.
Couple quick notes too. Bob Cole, I think he had his final game in Edmonton. Obviously, the big standing ovation. Bob Cole is a legend. I love listening to him. Louis DeBrusque ended up getting to do color. He was awesome. That's a big deal for him. He tweeted out about it.
Louis the man.
That
guy is salt of the earth.
Salt of the earth guy. So congratulations to Bob Cole on his final game in Edmonton. He's doing the tour. Can't even imagine what it's going to be like in Montreal and Toronto, the last 2 games there. Holy fuck.
Bob Cole.
I might cry. Because he's the best. He's the voice of hockey, for my generation at least. And another quick note, midget hockey is now offensive. There's people now wanting to take the word midget, even though it doesn't mean...
Oh, I thought you meant you can't call a small person like midget hockey. They're saying like the league when you're 10?
When you're a certain age and that's midget hockey, they don't want it called midget hockey anymore because it's offensive to midget.
Fuck out of here,
buddy.
dude.
What are they going to find to complain about next? That's my
Christmas
question.
songs.
But if they do, Biz will bring it up. When we hear about the complaint, we'll hear about it from Biz.
Yep. All right. Well, that's pretty much it.
We're going to the Christmas party, so we'll have some news on that, I'm sure. And we're in the office, so there'll be a bunch of content coming out. Biz is crushing this place.
Just a couple other quick ones. Kevin Shattenkirk out 2 to 4 weeks, separated shoulder.
Love you, Shaddy.
Biz, you guys lost your goalie most likely for the year. Auntie Ranta had a lower body injury. They went in to do a procedure. It was worse than they thought. He'll be back in better shape, but probably not till after the season.
But you have Adden.
And one other note, guys, we missed this a couple weeks ago, and I think we should acknowledge Mick Magoo, who was a referee from '87 to 2008. He passed away November 23rd after suffering a stroke. He was a well-liked referee by peers and players. His peers, everybody in the league liked him, and I grew up, obviously watching him. You guys did too. So we just want to send our sympathies and condolences to the family, friends, and peers of Mick Magoo. Great referee, great guy by all accounts, and we just wanted to again extend our condolences.
All right, great mention. And guys, when we forget to mention anything that of significance like that, it's not because we just didn't want to. It's just because we forgot, or there's a lot of things that we're doing and busy. So thank you for bringing that up, RA. You're usually good at bringing up the sentimental stuff. And we appreciate that you bring that element to the pod, buddy. Love you.
And remind me to tell you the story next episode of this woman on the train with me. I'll tell you guys. I mean, this fucking lady. All right, everyone. Peace out. Thanks for listening.